I had been married to my childhood sweetheart, Luke Adams, for 7 years when he finally grew tired of me. For the sake of our young child, I tried to save the marriage. But it was all in vain. 3 days before our wedding anniversary, I received a custom diamond ring from Luke. I was overjoyed, overwhelmed with happiness. But on the way home, my son and I were in a car accident. As the captain of the local traffic police, Luke was the first to arrive at the scene. He took the ring and rushed off to attend my best friend's birthday. He left my son and me behind to die. The ambulance was almost there, he said. There wasn't much I could do staying behind, but Mia's birthday only comes once a year. I needed to give her the gift. Later, my soul watched his entire life unfold. And when I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day he proposed to me. 3 days before our anniversary, Luke suddenly handed me his ID card and a receipt. I ordered a ring from Only, he said casually. Go pick it up. His tone was as calm as always, but my heart started pounding uncontrollably. We had been married for 7 years. We'd been sleeping in separate rooms since last year. For the past year, he barely looked at me, let alone talked to me. I knew something had changed between us. But for our child, I had been enduring it all in silence. And now he was giving me a ring. Had he remembered our anniversary? Was he planning a surprise? I took our son, Josh, with me to the elegant jewelry store. After checking the ID, the store clerk smiled and pushed a velvet box toward me. Ma'am, your husband placed the order for this starlight diamond and ring 6 months ago. He said it was a surprise gift for you. It's rare to see men so thoughtful these days. You're a lucky woman. 6 months ago. The words washed over me like a warm breeze. I couldn't help but smile as my heart filled with sweetness. So, he did care. He had just hidden it too well. He'd been planning this surprise for half a year, afraid I'd catch on. The clerk continued, still smiling. He was very specific about the diamond. He wanted one with the brightest fire. Said it would look stunning on you since your skin is so fair. Josh dug up my sleeve, his eyes wide with excitement. Mommy, is this the ring Daddy bought you? It's way shinier than your silver one. I looked down at the old silver band on my finger, worn thin with scratches. The ingrained initials NNA were barely legible. I remembered the day Luke knelt on one knee and said, I'm sorry this isn't a real diamond, Natalie. One day I'll replace it with the real thing. Turns out he hadn't forgotten. My eyes began to sting. I still didn't know why he'd grown so distant over the past year. But this ring told me that deep down he was still trying to hold on to our relationship. I nodded at the clerk, said nothing more, and gently tucked the box into my bag. Holding Josh's little hand, we walked out of the store. Some light poured through the glass, warm and golden. I looked down at Josh and smiled. This is Daddy's anniversary gift for Mommy. Let's make a nice dinner tonight and wait for him to come home, okay? Josh nodded eagerly. All the hurt and unease I'd felt over the past year seemed to vanish in that moment. The city was hosting a major investment fair and most of the traffic police force had been pulled in to help with security. Led being the captain had been working around the clock. I began to wonder if I had been too harsh with him lately. Maybe the pressure had just been too much. Josh skipped along beside me. Daddy is so nice to Mommy. Mia will be happy too, right? I chuckled and patted his head. Mia was my best friend. She was also the fiancée of Luke's brother who had passed away from illness a year ago. We visited her often to comfort her and over time she became like family. Back in the car, I pulled up my phone and sent Luke a message. Picked it up. He didn't reply. He was probably busy. When the light turned green, I started driving home. Just as I entered the intersection, a truck ran a red light and slammed into us. The impact was brutal. Everything went black. When I came to, pain shot through every part of my body. Josh and I were trapped in the mangled car. Blood trickled down my forehead. Josh was sprawled across the back seat, his little face pale as paper. It hurts, Mommy. He whimpered. I fought through the pain, trying to soothe him. It's okay, baby. The ambulance is on its way. You're my brave boy, remember? Just hold on a little longer, okay? But Mommy, I'm so sleepy. He forced his eyes open for one last look at me, then closed them again. No, Josh, don't sleep. Hang on, sweetheart. I'll buy you that Ultraman toy you wanted. But he didn't answer. My heart felt like it was being ripped into. Sirens wailed in the distance. Then I saw him. Luke Adams appeared at the window, panic written all over his face. Natalie, Josh, are you okay? I opened my mouth to speak, but his eyes had already shifted. They locked onto the velvet box lying under the passenger seat. Without a second's hesitation, he reached through the shattered window to grab it, slicing his hand on the broken glass in the process. Luke Adams, help Josh, save him first. Blood blurred my vision. The world turned red. I screamed with every ounce of strength I had. My voice was raw and broken, but he didn't even look at our son. He looked up at me, his eyes flustered, but they quickly darted back to the velvet ring box in his hands. His Adam's apple bobbed. The rescue team will be here any second. I'm not trained for this. If I try to move you now, I might make things worse, he said. His tone was conflicted, as if he were trying to convince both of us. Mia has been preparing food since this morning. His tone was conflicted, as if he were trying to convince both of us. She's been talking about her birthday for days. She's been waiting for this ring. I can't leave her hanging. I stared at him, stunned. The ring is for Mia. His gaze flickered just for a moment. With a sudden burst of self-righteousness, he snapped. Mia's your best friend and my brother's fiancé. What's wrong with helping her fulfill a wish? I was tied up with the investment fair and asked you to pick up the ring. What? You're upset about running a simple errand now? Pain shot through my chest, sharp and unrelenting. But I knew this wasn't the time for a fight. Luke Adams! I screamed, trying to reach for his hand. Josh is barely breathing. He's your son. He pulled his hand away, expression turning cold. I already checked. It's just the front of the car that's smashed. Stop being so dramatic every time something happens. What? You think you're the only one worried? Mia's already had her heart broken once. I won't let her be disappointed again. Once the rescue team gets you two out, just head over and join us. Don't make her wait too long. And with that, he turned and ran, his step urgent and fast, like something was pulling him forward. But I saw it, a faint, satisfied smile tugging at his lips, like a man heading toward a long-anticipated rendezvous. He didn't see it. He didn't see that Josh had already gone still. He didn't see that blood was gushing from the artery in my thigh. Luke Adams. Josh is your son. I am your wife. My body felt weightless as if my soul had been lifted by the wind. I floated helplessly after Luke Adams until we reached Mia's house. She opened the door, her eyes instantly lighting up. Then she peeked behind him. Where's Natalie? Where's Josh? Didn't they come with you? Luke reached into his inner pocket and pulled out the velvet box. His voice dripped with a tenderness I hadn't heard in years. They were in a bit of an accident on the way, probably waiting for the rescue team now. He handed her the box. Happy birthday. Mia's mouth fell open in surprise. Accident? Are they okay? But her eyes had already locked onto the box. She took it without hesitation. It's nothing serious, I said lightly, flicking her nose playfully. They're lucky. They're probably out of the car by now. Don't worry about them. Just tell me. Do you like it? Mia opened the box. When she saw the diamond ring inside, her eyes lit up like crescent moons. She glanced down at his still bloody police uniform, a strange flicker passing through her gaze. Then she reached up, wrapped her arms around his neck, and purred. I love it. You remembered the exact style I mentioned. Luke, you're the best. Before she even finished her sentence, Luke pinned her against the wall and kissed her. They tangled together like lovers long starved for one another. I floated there, numb as if frozen in place. My mind was blank. How long had this been going on? How had I not seen it? Months ago, Luke had started working late. He often didn't come home until the middle of the night. I'd asked him about it. He always said, being the captain is demanding, too many events and dinners. I had my doubts, but I brushed them aside. Mia had been visiting often back then. I even confided in her. She covered for Luke, told me he was just under pressure, told me not to overthink it, told me that couples need trust, and I believed her. I thought we were just going through the 7-year itch. Thought our love had cooled. I never imagined the betrayal came from both my husband and my best friend. The light above cast a glow on their intertwined bodies. The sleeves of Luke's police uniform still bore smudges of blood, mine and Josh's. So glaring, so obscene. Mia slid the ring onto her finger, held it up to the light. The sparkle of the diamond pierced my eyes like blades. The ring wasn't some noble gesture. It wasn't about kindness. It was about pleasing his mistress. To him, our car crash meant less than putting a ring on Mia's finger. Luke wrapped his arms around her from behind, rested his chin on her shoulder, and murmured how beautiful she looked in it. Then they disappeared into the bedroom, still tangled in each other. I hovered there, silent. A scream lodged in my throat that couldn't escape. I was just a ghost now, helpless, weightless, watching. All my patience, all my efforts to hold us together this past year. What a joke! The man I loved, the father of my child, had chosen another woman's birthday over our lives. I wanted to leave. I wanted to flee, but I couldn't move. Something kept me rooted, forcing me to witness every revolting second of their betrayal. They lay in bed, wrapped around each other. Mia played with the diamond ring on her finger, then turned to him. Her fingertip traced the edge of his jaw. Her voice dripped with false innocence. Luke, I heard Only's jewelry is all custom-made. You need an ID to pick it up, right? Won't Natalie be upset when she finds out you used chores to buy a ring for me? Luke pinched her cheek, his tone dripping with open disdain. Upset? What right does she have to be upset? She's just a housewife who's been stuck at home for too long. What would she know about custom jewelry? All she thinks about is the kitchen, the kid, and grocery lists. What else could that tiny brain of hers hold? I floated at the edge of the bed. And in that moment, every drop of blood in my body turned to ice. A housewife. Had he forgotten? I used to be a full-time teacher. When Josh was born, Luke had held me tightly, eyes pleading. Natalie, you know I lost my parents young. I had a lonely childhood. I don't want our kid to grow up like I did. Please, honey, quit your job. My salary is enough for all of us. Just stay home. Take care of Josh. Let me work without worry. When he's older, do whatever you want. I'll support you. I believed him. I gave up a career I loved. I devoted myself to our home. Cared for him and our child with everything I had. And now this was all I was to him. Just a woman in an apron. Nothing more. But now the sacrifices I made for this family had become the very reason he looked down on me. Mia giggled, snuggling closer to him. Well, unlike me, you know how hard you work, and I'm here to listen, to share your burdens. Luke Adams tightened his arms around her, his voice dripping with affection that cut like a knife when contrasted with his contempt for me. That one, besides asking me for money and whining about housework, what does she do? I get tired just talking to her. I watched them cuddle. Each word of his belittling me piercing like shards in my heart. The career I gave up for this home. The countless hours I poured in. The sleepless nights. I was worth nothing in his eyes. He forgot. And I once had a respectable job. Forgotten it was he who pulled me back into family life. And now he used the label housewife to nail me to a pillar of shame. Mia traced circles on his chest, her voice syrupy sweet. You promised to take care of me, Luke. You better not be mean to me or I'll be hurt too. Fool, Luke whispered, kissing her, his tone soft as silk. How could I be mean to you? That old head can't compare. My heart was stabbed over and over. The sacrifices I made for this family had become the justification for his betrayal. I watched them entwine again, and all I felt was a cold, biting void in bitter scorn. Suddenly, Luke Adams's phone vibrated loudly on the bedside table, shattering the bedroom's charged silence. He clicked it impatiently, and his voice grew cold as he answered, "Who is it?" A nurse's clear voice came through. "Mr. Luke Adams, this is the City General Hospital. Your wife Natalie White and son Josh Martin have both died despite emergency treatment. Please come to the hospital immediately to handle the formalities." Instead of shock, Luke sneered, his tone ripping with disdain. What game is she playing now? I was at the accident scene. The car was only slightly damaged. They had minor bleeding. It wasn't serious. Maybe she's faking it, sending a fake doctor to trick me into coming back. My soul trembled beside him. Slight damage, minor bleeding. Had he forgotten how he clung to the car window while Josh's face was as pale as death? Forgotten the blood blurring my vision? The nurse paused, studying herself with professional calm. "Mr. Adams, we are not deceiving you. The child showed no signs of life upon arrival. Natalie White also died from excessive blood loss despite resuscitation. You should come quickly to confirm their identities." Yeah. Yeah. Luke interrupted impatiently and hung up. She's just trying to get me back by pulling this stunt. She always does this when she's upset. He turned to Mia and smiled reassuringly. See, I told you she's unreasonable. She'd even fake medical staff to get her way. Mia purred sweetly. Maybe Natalie's just worried about you. But Luke, don't be mad. She'll calm down eventually. Mad? I couldn't care less. Luke spat, tossing the phone aside. A housewife who only knows how to threaten me with death. What skill does she really have? You think I fall for that? Pathetic. I froze. Memories flashing before my eyes. His words when he urged me to quit working. Natalie, you stay home with the kid. I'll provide for the family. You focus on raising Josh. When he's older, do whatever you want. Now, the career I sacrificed for this family was a mark of incompetence to him. The attention my child and I fought for with our lives was just childish gains. Mia snuggled closer again, tracing circles on his chest. Luke, maybe you should check on them. What if? There's no what if. Luke tightened his hold. She just wants to get my attention. When I get back, she'll probably cry and threaten divorce again. I don't have time for this. If it weren't for her uncle having connections in the city, I would have divorced her long ago. The hospital calls kept coming, but Luke ignored them, burying his face in Mia's neck, voice tender. Forget it. She'll stop when she's had her fill of drama. I stared at Luke's handsome profile, unable to understand how the man I'd been married to for 7 years could be so cold. How could he treat even our deaths like a trivial farce? In the next 2 days, the traffic police team tacitly avoided assigning Luke any duties. Even work notifications in the group carefully excluded him. Everyone assumed he was handling funeral arrangements, quietly reminding each other. Don't rush the captain. His wife and kid left suddenly, let him have a few days to recover. And Luke? He treated it like a well-earned break from the investment fair's grind. He spent the days glued to Mia, either shopping for gifts or cooking at home and watching movies. He had no idea that without their leader, the traffic control at the investment fair had descended into chaos. Young officers scrambled, almost making mistakes. He didn't know that every time his name came up, his colleagues' eyes filled with regret and pity. They said he wouldn't last long, that he was too broken. I drifted through the traffic police office, watching them sigh over the duty roster. An older officer lamented. Luke took a huge hit this time. Hope he can pull through. I could only feel the bitter irony. He wasn't broken at all. He was enjoying every minute of it. Early on the 4th morning, the training officer finally couldn't hold back and called Luke Adams, his voice as gentle as he could manage. Luke, how are things over there? Are you about done? The team's really stretched thin here. If you're feeling up to it, could you come back to the station? Luke, on the other end, his tone lazy like he'd just woken up. What's the rush? Didn't he say I should rest? The investment fair's over. What urgent business could there be? The officer hesitated, voice turning serious. I know Natalie and Josh's deaths hit you hard, but you can't just ditch work. There was silence on the line for a few seconds. Then Luke's voice shot up in disbelief. What? What did you say? They're really gone. Shock filled his words as if he just heard the most unbelievable lie. Impossible. I was at the scene. I saw it myself. It wasn't serious, just some minor cuts. She must be lying to trick me. The station already got the death certificates from the hospital. We sent you photos, didn't you see them? The officer's tone was a mix of anger and disbelief. We didn't assign you tasks these past days so you could handle the aftermath, not so you could lounge at home. What have you been doing? Luke's voice began to tremble, panic creeping in. I thought she was just throwing a tantrum again. Mia, probably hearing the commotion, whispered from nearby, Luke, what's wrong? But Luke ignored her, shouting into the phone, where's the death certificate? I'm coming to the station right now. He hung up and scrambled to get dressed, fumbling so badly he put his uniform on incorrectly. Mia grabbed his arm, worry in her eyes. Luke, is it true? Natalie, she don't ask. Luke snapped, his face pale as death, showing real panic for the first time. I'm going to the station. I floated behind him into the traffic police station, watching as he stormed into the training officer's office. He grabbed the death certificate from the desk, fingers shaking so much he almost dropped it. When his eyes registered the official confirmation and date, his body swayed violently, nearly collapsing. The officer sighed, looking at his broken state. "What have you been doing these past few days? The hospital couldn't reach you, so your colleagues handled the paperwork." Luke opened his mouth, but no words came out for a long moment. The color drained from his face, replaced by disbelief and a creeping panic. He was probably only now realizing that the quiet days weren't because of a lack of work, but because his colleagues were giving him space. Mia had somehow followed along and timidly called out from the doorway. "Luke." The officer's expression darkened, as if understanding something. Luke suddenly looked up, staring between me at the door and the death certificate on the desk, then bolted out. "Luke, are you okay?" Mia chased after him into the office, seeing him crouched on the floor, trembling. She hurried over to hold him, face showing faint concern. Luke looked up with glassy eyes, murmuring, "Impossible! How could they really be gone?" I clearly saw it wasn't serious, though he had been cold to me and Josh for a long time. The shock of the death certificate cracked through the layers of betrayal and lies. The blood bond between us bleeding through the cracks. I floated nearby, watching his hollow despair, feeling nothing. I should have known someone like him would never grieve for us. Mia saw the fear flash in Luke's eyes, quickly masking it with a look of sympathy. She crouched beside him, rubbing his back. "Luke, don't be like this. Maybe the hospital made a mistake. Josh is so adorable and Natalie's such a wonderful person, there's no way." Her voice choked on the words as she deliberately invoked us. But from Luke's angle, the calculating gleam in her eyes was hidden. Her words snapped Luke back to reality. He looked at her like she was a lifeline. Right. Maybe they made a mistake. Hospitals can mess up. Exactly. Mia chimed in, voice growing softer and more coaxing. "Remember how Natalie used to throw tantrums when you were busy? Maybe this time she teamed up with the hospital to trick you to get you to come back to her. Didn't she even fake a fever once just to get you to the ER? She floated over old grievances, twisting them into accusations of unreasonable behavior, turning death into yet another tantrum." Luke's expression wavered, brows knitting, panic giving way to doubt. "You're right. He's always done stuff like that. Maybe this time, too." The officer's face darkened, unable to stay silent any longer. "Luke Adams. The death certificates have the hospital seal and the coroner's signature. How could it be wrong? Natalie and Josh's bodies are still in the morgue." "Stop." Luke snapped as if his self-deception had been pierced. "I'll confirm it myself." He turned to Mia, eyes needy again. "You come with me to the hospital. We'll get to the bottom of this." Mia nodded immediately, studying him. "Okay, I'll go with you. It has to be a mistake. It just has to be." I couldn't help but smile bitterly. With all the evidence clear and present, he'd rather believe lies than face the truth. The morgue was icy cold. Luke Adams stood before the autopsy table, staring at the shapes of me and Josh under white sheets, his hands trembling so much he couldn't even lift the cloth properly. When he saw Josh's pale little face and the dried blood on my forehead, it was as if all the strength had been sucked out of him. He staggered back and slammed into the wall. For the first time, real emotion surfaced. Not panic or helplessness, but a dull, belated pain awakened by death itself. Blood ties or no blood ties, no matter how much betrayal blinds a person, in that moment, all his pretenses were pierced. He collapsed onto the floor, covering his face with shaking hands, shoulders trembling like a child who's just been scolded. Mia stood nearby several times, wanting to approach, but being subtly avoided by him. Yet, I noticed a faint, almost imperceptible smile curl at the corner of her lips. Over the next few days, Luke Adams seemed like a changed man. He cut off contact with me completely and devoted himself solely to handling the aftermath, operating like a robot. He ignored my messages, hung up on her calls, his eyes only held numb exhaustion. I knew this wasn't repentance. It was the shock of death briefly clearing his mind, making him see what he had lost. On the day the funeral arrangements were finalized, Luke Adams had just returned to the empty house when Mia showed up. Her eyes were red-rimmed, clutching her phone, and she burst into tears as soon as she entered. "Luke, you haven't been answering me these past few days. Are you mad at me?" Luke faced away from her voice. "If you have something to say, just say it." Wiping her tears, Mia pulled up a video on her phone and held it out. "Luke, I didn't want to say anything, but I was afraid you'd misunderstand me if I didn't look at this." It was taken by a friend at a hotel a few days before Natalie's accident. She was with a man. The video was blurry, but the woman's profile looked a little like me stepping into a hotel elevator with an unfamiliar man. Mia zoomed in on the date in the corner. This video has a timestamp. I can't fake it. Luke stared at the screen, his face darkening gradually. The faint sadness in his eyes vanished instantly, replaced by suspicion and disgust. He demanded, "Why are you only telling me now? I was afraid you'd be upset." Mia sobbed harder. "But I couldn't let you stay in the dark. She stopped loving you long ago. Otherwise, how could she?" Luke didn't listen further. He snatched the phone and replayed the grainy footage, clutching it like a lifeline. The weariness and numbness drained from his face, replaced by a sense of relief. Though he was the one who betrayed first, sleeping separately for a year, his heart long gone, making me fetch a ring meant for his mistress, and abandoning Josh and me at the accident scene, this fabricated video gave him balance instantly. He fixed his eyes on the blurry figure on the screen. Shock turned to anger, which twisted into a perverse sense of justification, as if my infidelity made all his coldness, betrayal, and refusal to help during the crash rite for revenge an excuse free of guilt. He never questioned the video's authenticity or considered how a homebound housewife who rarely left the house could have the time or energy for an affair. All he needed was a reason to free himself from moral shackles, and Mia handed it to him willingly. Fine, then," he muttered low, tossing the phone back to Mia. The last trace of sorrow vanished from his face, replaced by a chilling sense of relief, as if he could finally say to himself, "See, it's not me who's wrong. She was the one who betrayed this family first." I watched him straighten his back again, feeling a bone-deep coldness. Mia saw his softened stance and immediately linked her arm through his. "Luke, don't be sad. You still have me." Luke didn't push her away. Instead, he suddenly lifted her and carried her into the bedroom. "Luke, don't frown. You've got me to keep you company. Remember? I'll never betray you." Mia's voice was soft and coaxing. Luke lowered his head to kiss her forehead. A gleam appeared in Mia's eyes. "Actually, I've been upset lately, too." Her eyes suddenly welled up. Looking up at Luke, they shimmered with tears like she'd been wronged. "It's just my coworkers keep saying I don't look right standing next to you. They say I'm not as graceful as Natalie used to be." Luke stayed silent. Mia leaned closer, pouting with a hint of childlike charm. "They say a woman should dress for the one she loves. I want to get a little work done at a better clinic to look prettier by your side, but I don't have that much money." She paused, then hurriedly added, "I know that's a lot. If it's too much trouble, forget it. I'm just saying, since you just finished handling things, your funds might be tight." She lowered her head and her shoulders shook lightly, afraid to trouble him, but unable to hide her disappointment. Luke felt inexplicably annoyed, but her vulnerable look stopped him from being harsh. His tone hardened as he asked, "How much do you need?" Mia's eyes lit up briefly, then dropped again, voice barely above a whisper. "The doctor said it'd be around 200. And if that's too much, then never mind. It's okay. Enough." Luke cut her off, getting up to fetch a bank card from the drawer. "There's 300,000 in this card. Take it. Get it done right. Don't let people gossip anymore." He handed the card to Mia. I clearly recognized that card. It was the one I'd been scrimping and saving every month. Mia immediately wiped her tears away and smiled, clutching the card tightly in her hand. She kissed him on the cheek. "Luke, you're so good to me. I knew you cared about me the most." Luke Adams grunted in response. "How are you going to repay me?" Mia understood the hint and bent down toward him. The next morning, Mia left with the card in hand, still smiling as she waved goodbye to Luke. "I'll surprise you when I get back." Luke nodded, watching the door close behind her. The house instantly fell silent. He walked to the living room and noticed Josh's unfinished puzzle still lying on the coffee table. Luke picked up the puzzle pieces, hesitated, then tossed them into the trash. Turning around, he went to the bedroom and tore out all the clothes I had once bought for him. It was clear he was determined to sever all ties with the past. He thought Mia would be back soon. But things took a sudden turn. One evening, a week later, the front door was violently kicked open. Luke was watching TV in the living room when several muscular men in black tank tops barged in. The leader had a blue dragon tattooed on his arm, his eyes fierce and threatening like a predator. "Luke Adams, right?" The tattooed man kicked over the coffee table, sending fruit rolling everywhere. That Mia Carter rose money. You owe us an explanation. Luke jumped to his feet, frowning. What money? I don't know you guys. The tattooed man sneered and threw down an IOU with my signature and a sum of $5 million written on it. That claimed you were her man. Took our money and then ran off. Now she's dodging calls and can't be found. Who else are we supposed to come after? Luke stared at the signature on the note, his face draining of color. No way. She said she was going to the hospital last week. How could she owe you money? Hospital? One of the men nearby laughed coldly. She took the cash to the casino to try to double it. Lost it all and now she's trying to skip out on the debt. Didn't you know? Luke's mind went numb. He thought of the $300,000 he gave her that day and the surprise she promised. A cold chill ran through his body. He wanted to protest, but the tattooed man grabbed him by the collar. Enough, pay up or we'll take an arm before you pay. Muse slammed toward him and Luke staggered backward, hitting the wall. He'd been a traffic cop and knew some self-defense, but they were too many and too brutal. In no time, he was pinned to the ground, punched repeatedly. Stop! I don't have the money! Luke shouted, struggling, blood blurring his vision at his temple. All the savings at home are already gone. She took it all. No money? The tattooed man stomped on his hand, grinding it mercilessly. If you're broke, sell the house. Mia said it in your name, so selling it could cover some of the debt. Luke helplessly watched as they ransacked the house, pulling out bank books and documents hidden deep in the closet. They even smashed Josh's favorite piggy bank, scattering coins that jingled on the floor. Eaten and lying helpless, his body broken. All he could hear was the curses of the thugs and the chaos of his belongings being torn apart. Only then did he realize the talk of surgery was a lie. The tenderness and coaxing all a sham. From the start, she only wanted his money. And he, for this woman, had thrown away the clothes I bought, lost Josh's toys, spent the family savings. Even after Josh and I died, he never showed a shred of genuine grief. Wife! Josh, I was wrong. He whispered hoarsely, tears finally rolling down his cheeks too late, making even regret seem cheap. The tattooed man looked at the property deed in his hand and said to his men, "This house won't sell quickly. Take him with us for now to pay the debt." Like dragging a dead dog, they hauled Luke up and dragged him out the door. His head struck the threshold with a dull thud. He stopped struggling, his eyes empty like a soulless shell. I drifted alongside, watching him being shoved into a van, then taken to the dark. Nasha took him out to international waters where his looks and well-trained body attracted many who sought pleasure. He was abused day and night, paying the price for his coldness, betrayal, and foolishness. Not long after, his body gave out. During a client visit, he seized a moment when the customer was distracted and jumped into the sea. Until his last breath, he whispered my name and Josh's. I know he must have been filled with overwhelming regret. At last, I felt a faint satisfaction in his comeuppance. 6 months after Luke Adams's suicide, Mia Carter was finally arrested abroad. When extradited back, the police found a diamond ring in her suitcase. It was the very ring I had once collected, discarded carelessly in a corner covered in dust. Everything was settled after that. My spirit gradually grew transparent before fading away completely. The sunlight was just right. Josh came to me, taking my hand, smiling up at me sweetly. "Mommy, I don't like this, Daddy. Next time you have to find me a new one, okay?" I opened my eyes again, and Luke Adams was kneeling on one knee. "Natalie, marry me. I'll make you happy." In his hopeful gaze, I slapped him hard, then picked up that silver ring and threw it away. "Get lost."